Hello and welcome. My name is Odin from Bettyblocks, and in this video I'll explain what normalization is and how and why you should use this when you create a data model for your application. To get started, what is database normalization? Normalization is a technique for organizing your data into tables to minimize data redundancy. Use this method when you want to create an application but don't know where to start when designing your data model. What this means is that when you save data, you save it in one place only, and you make sure that it's not saved twice. And in order to do this, you might need to create extra models or think about how you want to create your entire data model in a different way. Because repeating data in your data model doesn't only increase the size of your data model for no good reason at all, it also makes your application vulnerable for issues. These issues are mostly related to creating new data, updating data, and deleting data. So let's see some examples. Here we have a table with employees with the following columns: ID, name, department, head of department, and office phone number. Let's add 4 employees. As you can see, department, head of department, and office phone number are the same for all of the employees. Whenever we add an employee, this data is repeated, thus redundant. This gives us 3 problems. The first one is when we create a new employee. We have to repeat the same data when we add 100 more employees to the department. Head of department and office phone number is repeated 100 times. We can look at the data and separate it in 2 groups because of this: the employee data and the department data. The second problem occurs when we want to delete employee data. We also delete department data. So once we delete all our employees, no department exists anymore, which in reality is not the case because the employees might be gone, but the department might still exist. The third problem is when we want to update data. Let's say the head of department gets fired or moves to another department and a new one joins the company. In order to update our data, we have to update every single employee's record in order to make sure the data is up to date. For these 4 records, that might not be an issue, but imagine if you have to do this for a department with more than 1,000 employees. You can see it starts to add up. And also, imagine if one of those records would fail to update. This means that you'll have the old head of department still assigned to this one employee, leading to inconsistent data. These examples hopefully make it clear why data redundancy is something that we want to avoid. Not only for the extra space that it requires, but mainly for the other problems that could happen. Now, how does normalization solve these problems? Let's talk about that. When we normalize our employee model, we divide it into 2 different models: the employee model and the department model. The employee model will save the data of the employee, and the department model will save the data of the department. The department model will now contain the following columns: the department, the head of department, and the office phone number. And the employee model will contain the following columns: ID, the employee ID, the employee name, and the employee department. These 2 models are related via the department column. This column links the 2 together. A fair point to ask would be that the redundancy is not gone since we're still repeating the department name. This is true. We're not aiming to eliminate all the redundancy, but to minimize it as much as we possibly can. Earlier, all the department data was repeated for each and every employee record. If we update the branch, we only have to update it in one place, and it'll automatically be updated to all the connected employees. This because the department model is linked to the employee model and not within the employee model. So if we now get a new head of department or we change a phone number, we only have to update this in one place. And it gets updated for all the employees. With reducing redundancy, we reduce the problems we might encounter. Now, when we add a new employee, we only have to add a name and a department, because the rest of the department information is stored in a separate model, the department model. And if we want to delete all employees, you can see that the departments are still there within the department model with the department name, head of department, and the office phone number. And when we want to update anything, we only have to do that again in one place. So it's a good habit to divide your data in separate, independent models, but still logically related.